Hello, and welcome to Rosetta Reviews, and the second episode of Carradine in Quarantine. Now, in my first Carradine in Quarantine video, my very first subscriber, Wim van der Straten, hope I pronounced that properly, made a comment that David Carradine is the king of B-movies, and I couldn't agree more. Now, back in the 70s, there was a queen of B-movies. Her name was Claudia Jennings. You put that king and queen together and then give them, say, the king of directing and producing B-movies, Roger Corman, and what do you get? 1978's DeathSport. Purported to be a spiritual successor to Death Race 2000 and widely considered to be far inferior to Death Race 2000, it's still a film that I consider to be enjoyable and definitely worth covering in our Carradine in Quarantine. Since we still don't know how much longer we'll be in quarantine, and he has a lot of films, let's go ahead and go through the plot of this one and then discuss the highs and lows. Right out the gate, we get an exposition so that we don't have to, figure out the world so much. We just get told what the world is, which is great. And that's basically 1,000 years. Here, just watch this.
1,000 years from tomorrow, after the great neutron wars, the world consists of desert wastes and isolated city-states. A few machines remain as a reminder of the past, but only the city-dwelling statemen use them. Between the cities roam the dreaded cannibal mutants and the range guides. Guides are legendary warriors leading an independent nomadic life, owing allegiance only to their code.
So it opens with Anchor Moore, played by Richard Lynch, directing an ambush against Kaz O'Shea, who's played by David Carradine. But Kaz, he senses something, and so he runs to the high ground. And, for those of you who think that Master Chief was the first one to really just go shoving his nuts in his enemies' faces, let me tell you that this was invented by Kaz O'Shea here in 1978. You're going to see more of Carradine's nuts than any two people would ever want to see. It's like they glued a camera to his ankle. So Kaz kills a few of them with his sword, and then he blasts a few more with his flashlight, which is a very common weapon in the future. Apparently everybody uses a flashlight to kill people. In keeping with being a monk in that warrior poet tradition, Kaz has some brilliant stuff to say.
Like sand in the wind, keep moving.
Because he needs to know the sand in the wind part to know that you need to move when you're being ambushed by the enemy. So Kaz kills the last statesman, and then Anchor orders the machines to advance. The machines are motorcycles with flashlights and a bunch of goofy shit welded to the front of it. They shoot and capture Kaz, but with just a regular old gun, but it just knocks him out. And then they take him to the city of Helix. So when they get to Helix, Anchor reports to Lord Zerpola, played by David McLean. The two of them get into an argument about death machines and their public perception. And no, I don't mean the name being something that your grandma would call him. Won't you go riding on that there death machine, Davy? You're gonna get yourself killed. No, that's not the problem.
People must be made to believe that riding a death machine will make them as powerful as a guy. We must build that confidence. It is crucial to the war effort.
I cannot say that no machine will be lost in the death sport, my lord. But I can absolutely guarantee that not one guide will survive.
Your life is your guarantee to me, Anchor Moore.
But Zerpola's in charge, so he tells Anchor to go get a female range guide too. So Anchor goes out to kidnap Denier, who's played by Claudia Jennings. When Anchor goes to kidnap Denier, it shows her leading a group of people from Triton, which is the other painted city-state in this. Not that painted one, but this painted one. And they get attacked by these people on the death machine motorcycle things. One of them mysteriously stops in the middle for a special effect, so she throws a net on him and he's trapped. Some of the other ones kind of mess stuff up and they fight for a little bit, but then this child named Tara is kidnapped by the mutants. Then we cut to another scene. Kaz wakes up in a locked room. He acts like a typical warrior monk and shows lots of control as he yells and rages and attacks the steel door. And then to show him how intelligent that is, they electrify the walls so he gets shocked a little bit. In an adjacent cell is Denier. Her and Kaz begin talking, and at one point she tells Kaz that his mom died in a battle over a year ago. Kaz wasn't aware yet. He vows to help find Tara. We then see Lord Zerpola and his terrible mystery illness that's making his brain decay and die. His doctor recommends that he step down immediately. Zerpola responds,
You goddamn lie. How dare you frighten me with your stupid lies? There's nothing wrong with me. Nothing! Arrest this man! You are condemned to DeathSport.
The doctor that diagnosed Zerpola is put in a cell with Kaz, and he starts talking to Kaz.
Zerpola is going mad. He's going to war with Triton for their fuel. We've got to stop him. We can't have another war. The people don't know that he's dying of brain disease. They believe everything he tells them. Tomorrow he's going to tell them that they must go to war for fuel to survive.
You statesmen who do not even know how to live with your word can never have the knowledge to know peace.
If only my son hadn't left for Triton, he'd help us escape and stop the war.
His son is one of the guys actually in the Triton caravan that Denier was kidnapped from.
See, certain top officials have been arrested for treason and sentenced to DeathSport.
Kaz is such an antisocial warrior monk that he needs every little thing explained to him about society, which is actually really convenient for us because we don't have to watch a bunch more crawls go across the screen explaining what's happening. We just have somebody explain it to us. But yeah, we learn about DeathSport a little bit from the doctor.
Do you know what the DeathSport is?
I have heard of it.
It's a tactic the Zerpolas use to keep their power. Zerpola has abolished the death penalty. Condemned criminals now fight each other in DeathSport. The winners go free, the losers die.
Attention, prisoners!
Then Anchor visits Denier, and she just talks mad shit to him.
Tell me your name.
My name is Denier. And yours is Ankar Moore.
Yes, you do not approve of my name.
Everything is within the self. Nothing is outside. It is known that you have lost yourself. Ankar Moore is a man without a soul, a name to be despised.
Ankar Moore stands free. You stand there enslaved by him.
I am my only master.
Then Anchor visits Kaz, and they both talk shit to each other.
What is your name?
A name I can be proud of.
Kaz O'Shea. Son of O'Shea. Seed of O'Shea. I knew your mother.
Yes. She gave you your disgrace, Ankar Moore. You who betrayed the consciousness. Your dishonor is legend.
My dishonor is your fantasy. What is real, Kaz O'Shea, is that now I can return to you a better gift than your mother gave to me. Your death in the DeathSport.
When the doctor's son, Marcus, tries to break everyone out of jail, Anchor locks down the jail from the outside. Kaz tries to blast the door open.
Fire!
Then the Helixians torture Denier, and they use these weird, long electric cock things, and doesn't really explain how it works or anything. It's obviously just an excuse for Corman to get Jennings in the nude. Kaz doesn't get stripped completely naked and thrown in with a bunch of electric vaginas. Instead, he gets strapped down in a loincloth and whipped. And Anchor watches instead of it being Lord Zerpola. Kaz shows that naivete once again and challenges Anchor to single combat, according to the code.
Fight me. Alone. I call the code. You must fight me. I live by no code.
But he didn't pay attention, I guess, to the color of Anchor's clothes. He doesn't live by a code. He's the bad guy. I mean, come on. After the S&M session with Anchor is done, Kaz is put in a cell with Marcus, Doc Carl, and Denier. Denier then heals Kaz with a mystical guide ritual.
You come to me, and you need me. I go to you, and I join you. For our union is real. I become you now, and you become me. And I heal you as I heal myself.
While the others are sleeping, the two guides have a conversation.
No one can touch myself.
Incel. The next morning, they are all awoken, and Kaz and Denier are taken and tortured. Thankfully, there are no up-the-crotch shots here. Or sadly. Zerpola brags to the painted audience about the death machines and how they are supposed to make a statesman equal to or better than a range guide. Anchor goes to Kaz to talk shit before the DeathSport begins.
I came to wish you farewell, Kaz O'Shea.
Ankar Moore, my only wish is that I could finish the work my mother began on you.
It doesn't matter what you think of me in Slave One. Your death will be your salute to me.
Kaz responds with some of the most brilliant words you will ever hear in film.
Yours will be mine.
Unfortunately, Marcus is one of the 6 statements that is set to fight against Kaz and Denier in the DeathSport. Kaz and Denier annihilate the first 5, and Marcus actually just kind of waits, and apparently nobody notices him. He just kind of sits over on his death machine and twiddles his thumbs. Then his dad comes out in the second wave, and he joins up with them, and they're like, all right. And then Kaz and Denier are like, hey, let's just steal a couple of these here bikes. I mean, death machines. And then they blow up a whole bunch of shit. After those 4 escape, Zerpola calls Anchor an idiot, and we get a glimpse of who the top and who their bottom really is in this relationship.
Open the force field. They're escaping.
You idiot! You let them escape! You imbecile!
Never speak to me like that again.
So Anchor and his men leave to catch Kaz and the other escapees, and Lord Zerpola is alone with his depression. So he turns on his titty electric cock-dancing slave girl machine, and the dancing slave girl drags him into an electric cock, and Lord Z collapses dead. Brain injury be damned. Now Anchor intends to make an example out of Kaz O'Shea and tells his men as much. One of his underlings argues, saying that now Zerpola's dead, there's no reason for him to continue, and turns his back on Anchor. So Anchor kills him with a fleshlight. At just about that moment, Kaz and Denier drive by. A fight/chase breaks out, Denier using her flashlight and Kaz becoming a human ramp to force his enemies off the road. After losing so many people to so many unorthodox tactics, Anchor has no choice but to withdraw and regroup. As Doc Carl explains what "our union is limited" means to Marcus, the guides discuss their next move.
Dad, what do guides mean when they tell each other that our union is limited?
Guides are fiercely independent. They don't believe in forming permanent relationships. Our union is limited means let's get together to do something now. But when we're finished, each is on his own again.
They arrive at an abandoned factory, and Kaz channels the spirit of Richard Gere and fleshlights a gerbil. While Anchor goes stir-crazy alone with his fleshlight, Kaz and Denier put their fleshlights down and spend the evening in each other's arms. The next morning, Anchor spies on them as they travel. As Anchor closes in on them, he sends his men to block the escape and announces his intention to kill Kaz himself. After a short battle, one of the most emotional scenes in the movie takes place as the guides escape, but the doctor is killed and his son witnesses it. Anchor blames his troops for their failure, and Marcus mourns his father.
They killed him. Marcus, your father died bravely. You can't kill them all by yourself. Stick with us. Let's go. Come on, Marcus!
And as Anchor follows them, flash winds, which are a thing, force all of the people to shelter in the sand cliffs up ahead. They talk about it, and they all meet in the same area, so those are the sand cliffs. Daenerys uses the mythical power of memory to remember what she saw, and recalls that the mutants are the ones who kidnapped Tara. So they go to the mutant caves. Kaz takes a mutant hostage and has him show him where Tara is. Kaz and Daenerys rescue Tara.
Don't make a sound.
The mutant hostage alerts the camp, and then the mutants attack. Daenerys kills some, Kaz kills some, and Marcus gets attacked and ends up asking Kaz for help while the others escape, and Kaz frees him. As Anchor and his men close in, Daenerys leaves for Triton with Marcus and Tara, while Kaz attempts to be the decoy.
I'll be waiting for you in Triton if you show. If not, I will meet you on the other side. Our union is strong.
Kaz lures the statesman into an old automotive zone and gets several to crash and die there. Anchor sends his extra men back to Helix while he pursues Kaz alone.
The truth needs no introduction. When the sun rises, there's no necessity to announce it. Clearly, we have lost. You can go back to Helix. There's nothing to be gained by coming with me.
And then when the two finally face off with no one else around, they have this to say to each other.
Now we will have our duel.
I agree.
As Marcus gets medical help in the painting, the Watchman alerts everyone that he can see a duel in the wilderness. After they do their best Doctor Strange impersonations and try to perceive every possible future reality that could possibly exist, the duel begins. This is one of the moments in the movie where you can see the real sexual innuendos, where the clear phalluses show that their sexuality is transparent, and as they grab each other and they're bleeding, and Anchor tells Kaz,
"You're not as good as your mother."
Oh, man. Yeah. Then Kaz decapitates Anchor. Yeah, who's not as good as whose mom now? Doesn't show what happens off camera, but I'll give you 3 guesses. And then Daenerys and Tara show up out of nowhere because it's a painting, so they just move it as they see fit around the desert. And Kaz, Daenerys, and Tara ride off together after deciding that...
Where will you go now?
With you?
With me?
Yes. You don't want me?
Yes, I do.
Then our union is complete.
My personal thoughts on DeathSport is it is a very fun movie. It is not a deep movie. It's not one that you're going to find a lot of big philosophical things in. Anytime it tries anything like that, it fails in a laughable way. But it is fun. It's enjoyable to watch. The fight scenes are good. The acting's a bit hammy. The motorcycles and all the special effects are dated in ways that are enjoyable. It's got David Carradine and Claudia Jennings in it. Both of them at pretty much the peak of their drug-addled careers. It's, Jennings died not long after this even. It's kind of sad. Not kind of, it's just plumb sad. It's one of the great B movies of the 70s. It's one of Carradine's great B movies. It's most definitely a movie worthy of
Carradine in Quarantine.
It's the kind of film that you can sit down with your friends with, and you don't really need to follow what's going on in order to enjoy what's happening. But if you ever look up, you're going to find something rewarding. It's not necessarily going to be like something great, but it might be some pretty great action, but it might just be something hilarious that you're going to sit there and laugh at. At any rate, it's a good movie. I've watched it probably 15 times in the last decade or so. It gets watched more than once a year in my life. I enjoy it quite a bit. And yeah, it gets hammered a lot because people try to hold it to the same standards as Death Race 2000, or frequently people will point out the obvious that, the Star Wars influence is kind of ridiculously over the top at this point. And yeah, no duh. It's too bad there wasn't more Mad Max afterwards, because this has been post-Road Warrior. It would have been hilarious to see what they would have done with that, huh? I would recommend it to friends, and I would say that if you don't own a copy, you should probably buy one or get one of those digital ones. Personally, I would discourage people out there from buying digital copies if you can own the physical copy, because all it takes is one contract to expire and your digital copy's gone now, whereas my copy on tape is going to be around until the tape deteriorates. It's strange on the cover how Claudia Jennings has her tongue cupped out like Linus trying to catch a snowflake, or like an e-girl trying to pose for a picture, or the only thing I can think of is maybe she dropped a rock out of her nose and she was trying to catch it because shit's hard to get on set and she didn't want to go through all the trouble of driving back into LA. That's my best guess. Well, thanks a lot for watching and paying attention this far. If you have, I'd really appreciate a like and a subscribe, or a dislike and a reason why you think I sucked a big fatty in the comment section down below. I'm looking at doing more
Carradine in Quarantine
here in the near future, although I'm probably going to take a break and do some other films in the near future. If you have any requests, throw them down in the bottom. Thanks a lot.
Show me your dick.